So we're really excited to be able to offer this reading in partnership with Art Prevails. I'd like to thank our sponsors with OMiami. So let me just pop my those sponsor names up on the screen real quick. Thank you to the Knight Foundation, the City of Miami Beach, Miami-Dade County, the Perez Family Foundation, the Betsy Hotel South Beach, National Endowment for the Arts, the Miami Foundation, the Children's Trust, Culture Builds Florida, the Poetry Foundation, South Arts, and the Jackson Health System. Just a few things for those of you who might be new to Zoom that'll make it a little easier for you to enjoy the reading and interact. One thing you'll see if you hover over your screen, you have the option down below to open a chat. That's a way that you can give support and feedback to the readers while they read. Be polite and obviously respectful there, but you can make sure that if you open that chat, if you look at the bottom, that you have the option to write to all panelists and attendees or everyone. So that makes sure that everyone in the chat's going to see what you're saying as well. We are super excited to introduce our readers for tonight. So I'm going to read, the way this reading is going to go, we have 8 readers. We'll have time for some conversation as well. I'm going to go ahead and read all the bios up top so that you know who you're going to hear from, and then we can get right into the good stuff with hearing everybody read. So our first reader tonight is Nyah. Nyah is a 13-year-old ray of sunshine who is an all-around creative. You may find her writing poetry, choreographing TikTok dances, or editing videos for her YouTube page. She is a proud member of Junior Thespian Troupe number 88050 and dreams of gracing the Broadway stage. Next up, we'll have Naya Hardman. Naya is a sophomore at Howard University. While studying journalism in DC, Naya also finds new ventures to foster her spoken word passion. As a radio personality for Howard University's radio station, WHBC, Naya is pursuing careers in all fields of voice talent. Naya is the National Young Arts Finalist, as well as a semifinalist for the Presidential Scholars in the Arts Award. Naya is currently working on translating her spoken word onto the page. Next, we have Peter Lange. Peter Lange creates poetry, music, and film. He likes drawing and has been rekindling his love for comics and superpowers. His current superpower of choice would be to have the ability to share perspectives, experiences, and emotions by being in contact with any living being. He would like to know what's your superpower of choice. Next will be Xaire. Xaire is an actor, singer, songwriter, and poet from Nottingham, England, now residing in South Florida. He has been writing and performing for about 10 years and will do so until his last breath. Outside of performing, Xaire has spent time mentoring children in the foster care system, which is what he enjoys doing the most. If you ask him what he does for a living, though, he'll say that he tells stories of roses and thorns and thanks God for both. Our next reader will be Epiphany. Amaret Epiphany Lormel is an accomplished poet, spoken word artist, audio engineer, vocalist, and arts educator who feels her purpose in this world and work is to provide neo-Indigenous youth and people of color with the tools to communicate effectively. Epiphany has partnered with nonprofit organizations across the nation to host events and writing workshops. She is currently the Blue Apple Programs Coordinator at the Jason Taylor Foundation's Omari Hardwick Blue Apple Poetry Network based in Broward County, Florida. And she is currently working on her debut poetry collection that will be a synthesis of odes dedicated to the state of Florida and to South Florida and Broward County. Next, we have Marnino. Marnino Toussaint is a South Florida-based poet and hip-hop artist who creates contagious sounds and relatable narratives that deliver something for everyone. He has been on the stages of TEDx Miami, Broward 100 Duende, and has worked alongside the likes of actors Omari Hardwick and Victoria Justice, author Mary Pope Osborne, and is open for hip-hop legends Chuck D. Marnino has had the opportunity to perform at the Jeffin Playhouse in Los Angeles, California, as part of their ceremony honoring musical legends and activist Harry Belafonte. While he loves to sing about love, Marnino likes to inspire activism and connectivity in his community. Marnino gives back to the community by teaching poetry and songwriting workshops as part of the Art Prevails Project. Next, we have Darius Daughtry. Darius V. Daughtry is an accomplished poet, playwright, director, and educator who truly believes in the transformative power of words. Organizations throughout the country, such as the Naval Academy, the Poetry Foundation, and Adrian Arch Center, have commissioned Darius to conduct creative writing and performance workshops and trainings. He is the founder and artistic director of Art Prevails Project, a performing arts organization dedicated to cultivating community through the power of storytelling, arts education, and community engagement. He has written, directed, and produced a series of successful theatrical productions. The Happening, a theatrical mixtape, Volume 1 and 2, that highlight social issues and disparities that continue to plague our society. His collection of poetry, And the Walls Came Tumbling, is an introspective poetic memoir and cultural critique. Equal parts praise, dance, and eulogy, And the Walls Came Tumbling is full of vulnerable, introspective poems that explore race, class, gender, and questions their existence in and effect on our lives. And last up, we'll have Ashley M. Jones. Ashley received an MFA in poetry from Florida International University, where she was a John S. and James L. Knight Foundation Fellow. She served as official poet for the City of Sunrise, Florida's Little Free Libraries Initiative from 2013 to 2015, and her work was recognized in the 2014 Poets and Writers Maureen Egan Writers Exchange Contest and the 2015 Academy of American Poets Contest at FIU. She was also a finalist in the 2015 Hub City Press New Southern Voices Contest and the Crab Orchard Series in Poetry First Book Award Contest and the National Poetry Series. Her poems and essays appear or are forthcoming in many journals and anthologies, including CNN, the Academy of American Poets, Tupelo Quarterly, Prelude, Steel Toe Review, Fjords Review, Quiet Lunch, Poets Respond to Race, Night Owl, the Harvard Journal of African American Poetry Policy, Pluck, Valley Voices, Fjords Review, Black American Edition, PMS Poems, Memoir, Stories, where her work was nominated for a Pushcart Prize in 2016, Kinfolk's Quarterly, Tough Times in America Anthology, and Lucid Moose's Press's Like a Girl, Perspectives on Feminine Anthology. She received a 2015 Rona Jaffe Foundation Writers Award and a 2015 B Metro Magazine Fusion Award. She was an editor of Pink Magazine. Her debut poetry collection, Magic City Gospel, was published by Hub City Press in January 2017, and it won the Silver Medal in Poetry in the 2017 Independent Publishers Book Awards. Her second book, Dark Thing, won the 2018 Lena Miles Weaver Todd Prize for Poetry from Pleiades Press. She won the 2018 Lucille Clifton Poetry Prize from Backbone Press, and she is the 2019 winner of the Lucille Clifton Legacy Award from St. Mary's College of Maryland. Jones is a recipient of a poetry fellowship from the Alabama State Council on the Arts. She currently lives in Birmingham, Alabama, where she is founding director of the Magic City Poetry Festival, second vice president and membership chair of the AWC, co-director of Penn Birmingham, and a faculty member in the creative writing department of the Alabama School of Fine Arts. So join me in welcoming all of our readers. All right, Naya.
Beautiful.
Okay. So the first poem I'm gonna read is called "See You Again," and it's based on when I wasn't with my father, when my father was locked up. So yeah. I called you 5 times in a row the day you left. Something told me you were gone, and I started losing my breath. My arms trembled and shook as I put my hands on my head. My world kept spinning, minute by minute, as I thought of my life if you weren't in it. The clock hit 5, then 8, then 10, and I wondered if you'd be there and if I'd see you again. I wondered if you'd be there to wipe my tears or to tell me to calm down and face my deepest fears. If you'd watch me walk across the stage, happy as can be, or have tea parties again with imaginary teeth. I wondered if you hug me tight and say I'm your princess instead of limited calls for less than 5 minutes. I wondered if you wiped the tears that fell to my chin. I wondered if I'd ever see you again. So that's that. And then I have a second one that's from, I was in school and we had poetry day like every single day. So this one was based on a painting that I saw called Stay Woke. Hands up, don't shoot. A saying that you won't fail to remember, but the department won't hesitate to forget. He had a gun, turns into lies with eyes locked onto hairbrushes that used to pick nappy pricks. Young minorities forced to stand for the pledge, but they won't stand for a country that won't stand for them. So we put our hands up. Stereotypes like chicken wings, hoop earrings, chains, and weave, they call us ghetto and are disgraced by our genes. But we embrace it because our locks make us, our hearts make us, and our black makes us. So can we relax our hands, let them flow, be free in the wind? We no longer want our hands up. Thank you.
So the first poem that I'm going to share today is called Speak Poet, and it goes like this. They say, speak poet, and I want to say, are you kidding me? Because ain't that what I've been doing for the past 3 minutes? The past 3 years, I've been speaking my stuff. If there's anything I know how to do, it's speak. This mic be diary, this voice of mine be instrument, and you're gonna sit there from the crowd and try to write my story for me? Nah, they say, speak poet. And I wanna say, you sure about that? Because some of y'all don't be hearing me anyways. Watch me, mold my words into arts and crafts just for you to throw my project away as if it shouldn't be hung up on your mama's refrigerator. My voice be loud, my voice be proud. So if you ain't hearing this sound, you must not even be in the crowd. They say, speak poet. And only the shaking, because I never felt more vulnerable, never felt more bare. It's different. You asking me to do what I do best makes me nervous. It's like you asking for a piece of my soul, and I'm not sure if I'm ready to give that up. It's different, because my grandmother says those same words, because she listens to the sound of my voice at night. I speak so she won't forget about me. So does that mean you're not trying to forget about me either? Because shoot, I'm not sure if I'm ready for that kind of commitment. They say, speak poet, and I never felt more alive, never felt more poet when it comes to my piece. And my piece, this piece, be coming home, be Sunday baptism, holy water, drink my words and watch your acne clear. They say speak poet, and so I speak, because I'll be poet and I'll be spoken. I speak no matter who wants to hear me. I speak no matter who's out there listening. I speak. They say speak poet, and I say forget that. I spit, meticulously make metaphors that make you mute and mesmerize. Spit my whole heart out on this stage. This cadence be the rhythm of it beating. Spit for those that don't know how, because maybe if you could feel my words on your face, if you could feel what I be saying, then you won't be telling me to speak up anyway. Spit nice and low like this. They say, speak poet. And so I spit all up in their faces, but only because they asked me to. Only because sometimes speaking just ain't loud enough. Thank you, thank you. And then my next poem will be called And the Man Asked the Woman. And the woman asks the man who he thinks he is anyways. And man does not know how to respond. For once, man be silent. Man gets this look on face the type guys get when they know they messed up, and woman be smiling, because she knows that she has no choice but to carry on. No, she must show man she don't play his games for real though. Who do you think you are? And she only says this because she knows exactly who she is quite sure who she came from, the universe that birthed her. She be rib of Adam, spawn of Eve, forbidden fruit, or so wrong it's right. She be mother of all things living, sprout of earth, this rose bloom from her hip, rose petals between her thighs. If woman knows anything, she knows who she came from, knows the power that lies beneath her delicate, knows man only lashes out because he has never seen such a thing so gentle, yet so strong, knows he would not be here without her, and still man forgets his place, and still man has the audacity to say, you be my problem, your temptation condemned me, and nothing has been the same ever since. You woman be too much, everything you're not supposed to be, everywhere you're not supposed to be at, and now woman scoffs, is that all you got? Because in that case, if woman done upset the world, do give us a chance to set it straight again. And now, man be silent with that same look on his face, the type guys get when they ran out of stuff to make up, and now, woman be smiling again, because she knows she has won, knows she has won again. And so she reaches up and she picks up the world from man's hands with her freshly manicured fingernails and says, here, My turn now. Thank you. My last poem that I will be sharing with you guys today is called Ever. Ever hear a Black boy speak, voice of mahogany, authority, trying to contradict the institutionalized instinct to question everything that he says, yet the words flow out his mouth like honey. Ever hear a Black boy sing, a low rumble that begins in the throat and travels all the way to the fingertips, a rumble that makes even the mountains fall to their knees at the sound of a single note, a rumble that is imitated, appropriated, but with blonde hair and privilege don't quite come out the same. Ever see a Black boy dance, dancing, not with the weight of an ocean, but the fluidity of a river, eyes closed, faint smile, hips swaying, dancing, not for those around him, but for his ancestors, dancing to the beat of their oppression. Ever see a Black boy smile, the type of smile that lights up a whole universe, that outshines the sun itself, that looks like velvet, feels that lasts for lifetimes until it fades away. Ever see a Black boy wince, wincing once when he steps out of line, twice when his eyes wonder or his lips misspeak and he's reminded that he's still a boy, will always be boy no matter how old he is. Eyes on the ground, hand in plain sight, this thing around his neck yanking him back into place. Ever see a Black boy cry, frustrated tears that wreak of defeat and spoil pride, tears that wipe away carefully constructed masks of artificial toughness, tears that never see the light of day, that only allowed out in the comfort of darkness, tears that match his mother's who would have never let him walk out that door in the first place. Ever see a Black boy ball his fist. Ever see a Black boy prepare for battle, streets taught him how to defend himself, right? Never flight, only fight, as if he could take on each and every injustice with his own two hands. Fire inside only dim when he realized they brought a gun to a knife fight. Ever see a Black boy bleed when he's lying there on the ground surrounded by crimson crown? Is that when he is labeled non-threatening? Is that when the appeal of having dark skin finally crosses the line, because everyone wants to act Black until it's time to be Black, and no one wants to play dead in these streets, slowly collecting innocence? You see, contrary to popular belief, when a Black boy bleeds, he don't just bleed red. He bleeds red and white and blue, his body physically grieving for a country he gave his everything to, yet refused to love him back, refuses to love him back. When a Black boy bleeds, the world stops for just a second as Mother Nature mourns her forsaken son. Thank you.
All right, that was amazing. That was amazing. Make sure you're snapping it up in the comments. Again, if you guys missed it, that was Naya Hardman, the amazing young poet Naya Hardman, and hopefully you show some love for the wonderful youngest poet on the panel today. Listen to Xaire Williams, who snapped. Right. So if you like it, again, use whatever you want inside the comments to show some love. You know, snaps. If you got some emojis that you think, like known as a megaphone emoji, you know, do that. Also, want to make sure we give some love to Miss Constance McKnight over there. She's a member of Art Prevails Project. She is doing some live painting with us right now, so make sure we give her some love. I'm excited to see what she comes up with. Next up, we have a young, talented poet, student. I guess I don't know if he's still a student right now because school is all awry, but he's a Florida Gulf Coast University student. So, as someone I've known since he was a wee little lad, so please show some love for Mr. Peter Lange.
Thank you. I like taking long walks on the beach with a pineapple mango smoothie in hand. I carve words that could change the world into soap sand, hoping that when they get washed away, their meanings get caught in currents, riptides, sending good tidings and tidal waves tumbling towards distant lands at war. They couldn't use their words. I hope she picks up the pen before the sword reaches her wrist. Love, peace, passion, happiness. Poetry is what I wrote in the sand. I'm Peter Lange. I'm a writer. I'm a lover, not a fighter. A passionate poet, if you couldn't already tell from what I've been screaming from the bottom of the inkwells of every writer that wrote to find a meaning. The meaning for me is to convert these words into food for thought, and I hope it hits the spot my soul it spills for you. I'm not the tallest glass of water, but a shot glass of me will quench your thirst. I vent in verse flowing hues. I'm Langston, no, I'm Lang's son. I'm a wandering poet. Thank you. This next piece, I feel like all of these pieces, I'm just gonna thread this set with the title of Acceptance and Truth. There's a child in me shining, Holy Grail, overfloweth from the shell, ate its tail. There's a sun behind my head, and it's shining upon the path. Light breaking through the mosaic within my wings. The cocoon is now a distant memory, rebirthed anew, inseparable from truth. The whole function of effort is quite ridiculous. Heal my whole body and soul, cut the victimish, wallow with no wonder and woe, so ubiquitous, cosmic in my conscience can flow, no supercilious fragments that smile at gold. Let's cut the silly, bitter banter booming in my brain, vibrations like a boomerang, attracting all this inner pain, the actions looping. I can't be the same. I must do something different. Resolve all this simping, just a symptom of the bitter roots, the bitter truth. I smile at it, but don't want to taste it. And these pieces right now, it's a collection of feelings, thoughts, expression. This last piece, or this is the second to last piece of that thread of acceptance. I was afraid of myself. I thought I was you, hollowified with a mask that's fat. I was afraid of you. Everything I shoved in me, I shoved it down my throat in hopes of swallowing the truth, but I kept it from coming up, from coming out. There lies a child in this pit, in the darkness, with anger swimming at its cheeks, guilt chained at his feet, shame kissing his insides. There were no butterflies in him, only nefarious apparitions, twisting knives and playing hooky with shadows, intercoursing through his veins, blindfolded with fear. He wonders if I will ever speak his name. And this last piece, Black boy missing. I'll stand up for this. Black boy missing. The black in this boy is missing. Somebody get him some chicken that's fried. Cornbread, black eyed peas, chitlins, and a sweet potato pie. Oh Lord, take him to the promised land where sing is sang and pain becomes soul. Abandoned made home, we Harlemized the Renaissance and made it our own style, funk, jazz, blues, arts. Where they thought we'd be damned, we survived, thrived, where genius is born, find beauty, ebony child. Beautiful, find this ebony child. I'm adopted. Plot twist. My parents are white. Plot twist. I'm black. At least it's what people tell me. Funny enough, people tell me how black I am, and how black I'm not. It's true. Go figure. They say, you talk so white. Be black, ma. Dude, you don't listen to Lil Young Bang Block, man. I'm blacker than you. I didn't know what to do. In middle school, I got lost in hip hop, and I thought I found my identity in ending these whack MCs. Can't call ain't got ish on me. That's what I said at lunch table. Freestyles, I love that. A punchline, bap, bap, bap. I thought that was black. The complexities of what I want to be. I can be as black as I want to be, but I'm not that black. In terms of blackness, I'm Tyler James and everybody hates Chris or Donald Glover. Oreo dip delish, my confidence crumbled. I found myself in college ruled jungles, juxtaposed pages. Maybe I'm just a white boy black facing. And yes, that's racist. I faced it. I broke the mirror's glass and took off my mask. I can finally see the truth and beauty in my black. And we are making this history. Me and my family, we fit perfectly together. Ebony and ivory key to each other's chords. Perfect harmony is meant to be. So you tell me, is this black boy missing? Black boy missing? No. The black in this boy is a king's vision. Yeah, give me some chicken that's fried, cornbread, black eyed peas, chitlins, and a sweet potato pie. Oh, Lord, I have been to the promised land. Funny thing about that piece, I don't even eat chicken anymore.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Awesome. Dope job. Dope job. That was Peter Lange. So make sure all of our panelists, make sure after you go ahead and drop your social media handles inside the comments to all the attendees so that they can check out what you guys are doing everywhere. So our next poet stepping up to the microphone is a lovely young lady. She is one of my, I don't have any children of my own, but she's a daughter of mine. So please show some love in the comments section. Show some love, throw some hearts, throw some something there, for Epiphany.
Woo, hey y'all. I am Epiphany. So like, my government name is Amaret, and when I was younger, I kind of battled with just not liking my name. Everybody was a Tia or Sarah or Jennifer or Jessica, and Amaret just felt like it was a little much. And so I'm kind of, I don't know. And then I fell in love with it and didn't want other people to say it. So it's like an existential crisis, but I wrote a poem about it. So this is it. There's a rumor that I was to be named Sweetie Pea. True story. My dad settled on Amaret. I fill a room in cadence, name, and spirit. Et denotes small size, and Amor is the exact opposite. Webster calls it Cupid, an asteroid. I was a galaxy of a gift. I've spent my existence trying to bury my name under my father's tongue. Found it too pure for people who can't love me a little. Too innocent, delicate, to clatter around in between the jaws of the inconsiderate, the wild. He fed me my title from the bottom of his belly, so I know I am of God, and wells, and swallowed storms, and lions' dens. I am goddesses with heads full of snakes. I am languor and language. I am the biggest threat to the sun, and to call me Icarus would be to disrespect my father. Call me Amaret, but only if you can love me like it. So that's my introduction. Introducing myself. To know me is to know how I speak. And I was asked by a poet, Kevin Koval, to write about how I talk. And so I wrote a poem about how I talk, and this is it. I've parked parts of an 8-knot tongue somewhere in my breath. My glottal effect be global. Sound like everywhere I've been. Speak like 441 in Peachtree. My language is Southern, the fine line between bourgeois and uppity. I am narrator of the equator's talk. Got a whole lot of it in my speech. I had texted you or I misted you. I swallow letters and chew most ends to my words. I say stuff that has no dictionary meaning, but mean everything in context. When Jit say he caught a flat, you say trism. When fools say he missed 4 assignments, you say cerebral. When somebody try it, you tell them you're dead. And when you gotta let something go, you gotta shake that. I really hate saying bye. I'd really prefer to say, all right, y'all boys. All of that is gender neutral. Bid is a person, place, or thing. When I hit a lick, I gotta put a wall in my muppy. You always handle your mupp first. I code switch so people can get me, and ironically, they still think my slang is what I switch to and not what I switch from. I can learn virtually any language because the construct I've risen from is that of a pidgin dialect, a patois built of plight, a lingo laden in pain and survival. I've seen my people use my heart in their mouths as a trend, or maybe to relate, and even to gatekeep the evolution of the dance that the teeth and the throat do. That is why I talk how I talk. And to know me is to know how I speak. Also to know me is to understand my greatest love, and my greatest love is the state of Florida at this point in my life. But particularly, it's all the amazing men in my life who I've met from the state of Florida. And so this poem, this is the second to last poem, but this is a poem that is an ode to all the boys from Florida. They say it's something about them Florida boys. They snipe right, left, left, right, right, west at them boys, YG. Them boys don't respect OGs. Them boys be boys and big men bodies, they hard full. They broken and broke, they get rich, go broke quicker, die faster. Them boys be Usain Bolt. Race bullets and batons, running barefoot on pavement, grass and broken glass. Them boys slide, jug, cerebral, trism, them boys wigging. Dead flies, you sleep if you don't see prism or light. Them boys rock body, soft skin, hard heart. Them boys say forget books, still learn street smart. Them boys know ball, Dilla Paul, four-way. Them boys Pompano, ugly corner, they city, they laid them scam when they have to because they always have to. Them boys ain't been told much outside balling. Florida State, a gator, them boys bite. Whether they bark or not, them boys bite. Whether they scared or not, them boys men. Whether it's fair or not, them Florida boys be bunked up and bricked out. Them boys boxers, under shorts, under jeans, and a wife beater, them boys tee. Shorts and Nike slides, or Jordan sneakers, them boys die. And nobody ever knows who did it, them boys live. And nobody ever knows how they did it. Them boys don't just survive hurricanes, they are hurricanes. Don't just live on this peninsula, they bottom of the map and barrel. Gunning on God and grandma's prayers, running off batons and zoclos, them boys island. Southern and city, rabbit chasing fields of flame, them boys muck. Salt water and wounded flesh, runaway slave, fall in love with the natives, they a thrill. Florida gave you Trick Daddy, Kodak, Ridley, Gunplay gave you Trill. Some say them boys crazy. Some say them boys live. Them Florida boys, for anything, they gonna get a life. Them boys be boys and big man bodies, and they strive to see another day because they Florida boys. And Florida boys, well, they're Florida, wherever they stay. And I really like that poem, y'all. And every time I do it, it like grows on me. I'm used to like falling out of love with poems the more that I perform them, but I fall even more in love with that poem the more that I perform that, and I think that's fire. So I don't know. So earlier in February, my grandmother unfortunately passed away, but she lived a full life. She passed away at 90 years old, and there was a running poem challenge on Instagram asking you about who you are. That was the prompt. And I went to Haiti to send her away properly and spent some time there and did a lot of like soul searching and figuring out who I am and what I stand for and how like this legacy that I come from, and who is this woman that had an entire village come out to bury her. Like who is this lady that everyone was so in love with, and how does that tie into my womanhood and all that jazz. And so I wrote a poem. When I was asked who I am, I decided that I was Olivia's wildest dream. I was my grandmother's wildest dream. I am the poplar tree's worst nightmare, a dream so afraid to die she bleeds to bloom again. As palm trees shading a southern sky, a Florida I-95 canopy, a boundless child, making the most of what the turnpike has to offer, a babe, spending her first mango season in competition with her father's yearning for settlement, a prized cicatrice, a trophy for the farthest beanbag throw, lassoing a language or three where the heart has found legs but no rest, a runner, sprinting backwards, a Taino, a mulatto baby, a grimel, a mix of everything, always dancing, learning, laughing, then waiting for life to catch up with my heartbeat, a fanfare, and coffee before sunrise, summoned by roosters and the working class and the school children who dare to learn a shower from a bucket or 10, a humbled beginning, a wives' tale, a rumor to be made true, a wish, a flame with an insatiable appetite. I am my grandmother's wildest dream. I am roots where seashores boil above an equator. J'cerise and j'cor sol fritaille and my moulin. I am lobsters and prestige, seashells and sirens. I am the island beneath the sea, a mountainous place barely above water, surfacing only to remind people she lives and she lets live. And that is me. Thank you all for letting me share a piece of myself. I appreciate it. I will be dropping my Instagram in the chat, so y'all go follow me and stuff and DM me and talk to me and all that.
Awesome. Amazing. 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 Makes me feel good every time I hear you do your thing, girl. It's always amazing. I love that poem about the way you speak. I love it. I'd heard the other ones before, but I don't think I'd heard that one. I love it. Our next poet is also a beautiful person. He is someone I've known for a while as well, and he works closer with me with Art Prevails Project. So go ahead and give it up, show some love for my man, Mr. Marnino Toussaint.
Appreciate it. Thank you for calling me beautiful. Yeah, I have a couple of poems. I've been working on a book for the last 2 or 3 years. In the next 2 or 3 years, it'll be done. And that'll be great. So with that, I want to share some of those works, not really works in progress, but poems that I have going. So. Shorty's fighting over chicken tender subs again. Red weaves confetti to deli. White folks' nose are wide open. They shook to see how savage us Negroes get over poetry. How we plated dozens over dinner. It's the 3rd time in 2 weeks I've seen a mama turn a lace front into a closure. Knock the desserts off display, scare away the patrons. They think of us wild. Wish we would keep our ratchet at Presidente or Bravo. They say where many of us gathers, chaos comes, which probably is why the rich folks don't come to the Publix on Miramar Parkway no more. We must run them out with all this ghetto. Must be what it feels like to gentrify, to come to a place loud and uninvited, pull things from the root you have no business pulling, to knock things down that you have with no regard, enter in a way that screeches, make everything want or have to leave. Rich folk come into neighborhoods and think they have to rebuild. Take over projects like we affect the curve. How would you feel if I set up a chicken stand in your Starbucks? Say it added to the ambiance, but make it with too much spice so you can look, but you can't eat. Either you starve or you leave. It's already been scripted. They've always wanted to make an invasion seem like a good thing. The villain always confuses domination for peace, always thinks autonomy is the problem. The villain never thinks that they're the villain. How do you revitalize something you didn't see grow in the first place? Our neighborhoods, our gardens, the wealthy make as farms. Crop circles and real estate development share the same face but dress different. Families under the heat of tractor beams to please urban tastes. Resumes are only readable in Klingonese languages the streets don't speak. Hard to fight an occupation when you're jobless. Hard to keep up with housing costs because of the same thing to think. Gentrification is a favor. It's to think your mom cleaning your room and finding your diary is the same thing. Some things are not meant to be touched by people who don't know where things belong in the first place. I hate when somebody cleans up and you lose things you would never lose otherwise. And anyways, what's the point of beauty if you can't see it anyways? What I'm trying to say is, what's the point of a chicken stand if everybody can't eat? Yeah, and that's that. So this book, right, that I'm gonna be working on for the next 3 years, is supposed to be called Dark Humor, right? And so the idea is that I spent a lot of time trying to write poems that I didn't feel like were me, right? Like I think that there's a space for me to be emotional and everything, but I love to laugh and I love to be light, and I also love my blackness. So I thought, okay, let me write a book that was really that, like, talking about my blackness and also talking about like funny things. So I wrote a lot of funny poems, to me at least. I like to laugh at my own jokes. So here's a poem about that part of me. Kyrick, little short, slim Frank Ocean looking dude sang like water. Smooth and something for the thirsty high school girls, he played almost as well as the guitar. His fingers as slick as a James Brown soul and swoop sang like an aftershock. I wanted to be at Kyrick. Wanted to win most talented in the yearbook, but instead I won nicest guy. I didn't even know I was nominated. Just found myself right next to Jasmine Henry Fuller, who won Best Smile. One I probably would have fell in love with if I wasn't already falling into the back of my throat. I wanted to say I demanded recount, that there's no way I'm the nicest guy, the knot in my jaw says different, that this gun is loaded behind my teeth, rusty but loaded, never fired, because these soldiers are shooters who can't stand the sight of their own blood. Maybe I don't want to hurt them, even though they want to hurt me. My smile is Kevlar. There are some bruises underneath, but it's hard to tell from my skin anyways. I ain't nice, just rigid, leather, a trained tongue. I know how to tell my tongue to sit, and it does. My smile is a gatekeeper, so I don't have to swallow the things that nobody wants to stomach afterwards. Smile to avoid bitter taste, but they always take my tough teeth as tucks. I'm treated like taxidermy. My mouth is mounted in dens, a trophy for getting away with it. I hate that I won nicest guy. Ever since I've been communion, and nice guys always finish last. Sucker. Yeah. And that's that. Yeah, so I'm a nice person. Yeah, that's the moral of that story. And so, you know, I love humor. And so this next poem is about, you know, growing up and realizing that as nice as you are, adulting is really mean. Here's that. This poem is called Adulting, alternatively titled Growing Up. Nah, you could keep that. This poem is called Is There Such Thing as Growing Down? If so, can I do that instead? Alternatively titled Benjamin Button Didn't Really Have It that bad. This poem is called Sorry Mom, Can I Have My Old Bedroom Back? Also called Doctor's Appointments, How to Book Them Without Your Mama, or Steak, How to Cook Without Your Mama, or Living, How to Do It Without Your Mama. This poem is also referred to as Student Loans, The Real Mafia. This poem has the longest name ever. This poem is called Maybe I Shouldn't Have Taken Out Those Student Loans So I Could Put a Down Payment on a car That Has a car note and guzzles gas like an alcoholic. This poem could also be called Bad Financial Decisions, or What to Do When You're Not Born Rich and White. This poem is called So I Have to Work Every Day, but I prefer to call it Since When Was Everything So Expensive, or Credit Score. How to Fail a Test You Didn't Know You Were Taking in the First Place. The perfect name for this poem, Homeless, To Be or Not to Be, or I Thought High School was supposed to prepare you for real life, something subtle like senior year, the final frontier. This poem is called Life After College, better known as So You're Telling Me This Degree Doesn't Automatically Get Me a Job, not to be confused with This Is My 6th Time Changing My Degree and None of Them Will Get Me a Job. This poem is called Everything Needs Insurance, like even me. Shouldn't insurance be, you know, optional? This poem has the perfect name, Accidentals, How to Make a Paycheck Disappear, or Auto Pay, the story of the thief I let into my house. But this poem could also be called Puberty, At Least That's Over, or I'm Smarter Today Than I Was Yesterday, or I'm Still Younger Today Than I Will Be Tomorrow. This poem will be told in my mom and dad's living room amongst bearded and breasted babies. It could be called Finding Yourself Doesn't Mean That You're Lost, just means that there are more pieces left to your puzzle. This poem could be called When I Have Kids, the Stories I'll Tell Them, not to be mistaken for Dear God, I'm Not Ready for This Baby. This poem is called Growing Up Was Nothing Like I Expected, but alternatively titled Growing, Healthy Things Grow. And when I write this poem, it will be about stress and anxiety and confusion, but it will remind me that I made it here today. Yeah. And so I'm gonna end off with one last poem. I think like one of my favorite sports in the world is basketball. I may not be, I'm not like the greatest baller, but in my head, I should have been on that Michael Jordan documentary. So this is what basketball I think means to my city in a little bit. We all play ball in my city. We all concrete MJs with jump shots for Jesus. We pray to the twine and hope our hands are holy enough to make it. hopes to stay afloat with B-ball scholarship. See, Lakeshore shore is a sea. Black boys can sink here easy, so we try to remember the difference between drinking and drowning at fountains, so we handle handles like life vests. Wear talents on our chest and hopes to stay afloat. Sick crossovers get you past Stacy Lane. It's either broken ankles or staying broke the block. Block shots like Matumbo. Sends neighborhood boys' dreams out of bounds, so boys who ball are foul. The closest thing to flight. The boy who balls are all body, a skyscraper built for mama to live in. Boys who ball are all chasing a dream that expires. There's no reason to score for the dead, so we jump shot and hope to get rich quick before poverty catches up with mama's health. The play is simple, but when ball is the only way out, sometimes the court starts to feel like a courthouse. 24 seconds away from a life sentence. If you miss your shot, you are stuck in this prison, so we play ball, or it plays us until it takes us out of this poverty, or it costs us our body. This game ain't what it used to be. Yeah, thank you, and that's me.
All right, that's right. One more time, give it up for my man Marnino with nothing but amazing poems. Hopefully, in those 3, 4, 8, 12 years, we'll see your book. That'll be dope. That'll be real cool. So one time we're super Nino there. Next up, we'll have. So if you notice, this might be a little trend. Like everyone thus far that I've called up, I've known for quite some time, starting with my niece, and then everyone else I've known for quite some time. And it's I'm just grateful to be able to have such wonderful people around me and to play a part in their lives. And so I'm excited to hear from this next young man. He told you from the beginning that he's from England. I was just about to bust out my English accent, but I decided mid-sentence not to do it. So we just kept it, maybe I'll do it during one of my poems. So please, or maybe I'll sing. So please, make some noise, show some love. People attending, can y'all go ahead and show some love over in the comments? And Nino, yeah, make sure you put your stuff in the comments. So show some love for Xaire.
Thank you. Man, this is dope. Peter said in the chat earlier that he loves hearing everybody, and like this is like family to me. So I'm like geeking out over here, hearing everybody how they right now as opposed to how they wrote before, and it's crazy. So I'm gonna start off with a poem that I wrote a couple years back. And it's entitled Pharaoh. Oh, Pharaoh, let my people go. Oh, Pharaoh, let my people go. Oh, Pharaoh, let my people go. Oh, Pharaoh, 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 Pharaoh. When were you gonna let us know that you never intended to let us go? Pharaoh, Pharaoh. When were you gonna let us know that once freed, we'd then once again be locked up by cops spotting dreadlocks and learn to call cell blocks home, Pharaoh? When were you gonna let us know? Were you ever going to let us know? Or were you just hoping we wouldn't figure it out on our own? Well, Pharaoh, you did. You've seen the writing on the walls hidden in hieroglyphs, depictions of perfect peace between the people, preaching fantasies of all beings being equal. Pharaoh, you ain't slick. You see what you've done. Let Moses play POTUS in the palace for a few years while you instill fear in our sons. On the run, balled up in baskets, wade in water in order to escape the heat, escape mistreatment. We've seen it, your civil servant staff turned to serpents just following orders. Nah, just following you, swallowing youth, ending lives before our very iPhones feed us forbidden fruits to view the naked truth. Pharaoh, the snake is you. Planted seeds of deceit beaten into the people's minds till they're battered and bruised, till they're black and blue, till their eyes view blacks and blues bleed on streets while each side's families weep and wounds cut deep. Pharaoh, you have to see there's danger in this game that you play. You can't keep killing suns because when stars die, they tend to take solar systems with them. Pharaoh, you're risking your kingdom. Listen, this is not a threat. This is simply advice. Let my people go before my people stop asking, because I assure you, the last thing you want is exodus by force. Thank you. I'm gonna go right into all right, so the next two pieces are sort of combined. So the first one is entitled Jump to a Conclusion, and the second one is entitled Wishful Thinking. A writer sits, benumbed, paralytic, perplexed, vexed over tainted pages, painted with 2/3 of story, an unfinished allegory poorly pieced together, scattered over a diner table positioned perfectly beneath a pastel coral lamp extruding lackluster light, reflected off the sweat trickling down the side of his face adjacent to his worry lines. Don't worry. Lines will come to your mind soon enough, he says, attempting to convince himself of what he is not certain, his pen now running out of ink. Just think. It's completely up to you. The story ends exactly how you want it to. He has no clue how he wants it to, just that he does. Yearns to jump to a conclusion, but nothing seems correct. Unable to connect the dots, the thoughts in his mind, know when it can dine enough for the culmination of this, so far his greatest work, and a masterpiece of this magnitude demands to go out with a bang and a bang. Maybe. He jots down his brief stint of inspiration, determined to quell the seemingly insatiable hunger to cap his previously written climax, which eloquently chronicles the activities of a young man flirting with adulthood with complex complexion kindred to that of dark berries, once sweet, made bitter from years of oppression. He reclines in his car at a stoplight, sits solitary on a road forgotten, and waits for a green light that he may never see. Because in that instant, he's bombarded with flashing red and blue lights in the dead of night. He's frightened by the soundtrack of the African-American horror story. Sirens sing lullabies of almost certain death. His hands begin to quake as if tectonic plates were shifting in his wrists. His grip on the wheel tightens. He's frightened, and rightfully so, because coffins and cops correlate far too commonly for him not to be. Hashtag RIP, fill in the black is engraved in his mind, and there are far too many graves on his mind for him to think that maybe he just has a faulty tail light. The only thing he thinks is that he might lose his life tonight. He's frightened, even though he knows what to do. Be respectful. Don't look him directly in the eyes. Try not to raise your voice. Speak only when spoken to. Call mom. Tell her you love her. Repent one last time just in case. He's rehearsed this scenario a million times in his mind just in case, but just because he's prepared, that doesn't mean that he's ready. He rubbernecks to see the officer already looming over his car, casting a shadow like strange fruit from trees. He sees the flashlight slowly ascend to the window. Tap, tap, tap. He inhales, exhales. Unsure of whether to expect Jekyll or Hyde, he reaches to wind the window down and ellipses. 3 dots stand in place of the young man's fate. The writer concedes, retreats to his room, eagerly awaiting early morning inspiration. Damn, I hate cliffhangers. Let's jump to a conclusion. I've sat on that poem for a long time, and I just recently decided to write sort of a part 2, but not really. But yeah, so this is wishful thinking. I wrote my best work on a napkin in a Waffle House. It was swept away with the receipt, simultaneously becoming the best and worst tip I ever left. And I think that I wish I never left, or at least went back to find what became of that incomplete portion of my mind. I like to think that it wasn't a waste, that maybe that timid waitress took the time to iron out the creases in that crumpled up piece of paper and stumbled upon the ending that eluded me. That storied happily ever after that I was forever after but could never capture after several chapters. I like to think that it was passed back and forth in the back at 4 a.m, and as the story continued, it took a less gruesome turn than the one my mind perpetually tried to turn into. I like to think that those 3 dots never turned into gunshot wounds. that the hero lived long enough to become the villain, or a father, or alive, or grown, or anything besides a placemat for a headstone. I like to think that my story was finished by an optimist that didn't find making it home safe too cliche. I pray that my story was found by someone who still hopes, and that they share a little with the words that I wrote. I hope, with whatever hope I had left, that the young man gets to see that green light, that the tree can no longer produce peculiar produce, that the dark berry's juice sweetens once more. I like to think that there was once more to me than the fear of endings, that I'd experienced enough good ones to write one of my own. I like to think that one day that timid waitress will find this, will hear these words, hear this poem, and tell me that it was more than just wishful thinking, that she'd show the fruits of our labor, and we'd savor the moment I wrote my best work on a napkin in a Waffle House, and she found it and jumped to a conclusion. And that's wishful thinking. So I got two more pieces for you guys, and I'll be done. So this next piece is entitled Concrete. Oh no, sorry. This next piece is entitled Touch. Yeah, I'm just gonna read it. Touch me. On bended knee, hands pressed together at the altar, all together press me. Get in my space, like it's one small step to face chase me. I won't be hard to get, so get me, like you do, love me, like you do, touch me, like you knew I needed it, that real touch. Come in real clutch, make you feel just make you feel us, past the past, present, fast forward, touch me. Like we passed formalities, touch me. Like you mad at me, touch me. Like you fast, actually. Go ahead and touch me slow. Go ahead and touch my fro. Let them touches linger while I wait on you hand and foot, and you give me tips of your fingers, singer, sing my song. Put me through the ringer, ring my phone, put me on hold, please hold me, know me. Don't ask for much. There's far too much space between us, and just between us, I've never been much for touch, but yours hit different. So sing my song, Touch. All right, so this last piece is entitled Concrete, and I actually reworked this poem a few months ago, because originally it was written about me, but as we grow older, we gain perspective, and we have more important things to talk about. So it is no longer about me, it is about the young men that I had the privilege of working with for about 2 years in the foster care system. I often hear about these roses grown from concrete. Forgive me if I find it difficult to celebrate, knowing that most are simply torn back down by weeds, their seeds deemed undesirable and scattered, planted in infertile soil, spoiling any opportunity they had to exceed what they're believed to be, and eventually uprooted. Petals never plucked, never considered good enough that he loves me not, so how quickly the world forgot their worth, their strength, their courage. Now all they see are their leaves, damaged stems, bruised, once viewed as beautiful, but still the ones left in shops on Valentine's Day, still the ones left outside of pots, mocked by the transparency of greenhouses, left staring longingly through the cracks and crevices of concrete, made famous by those who never had to escape it. At 21 years old, I began working at a group home. Equipped with nothing but arms and a few poems, my heart became home to 11 children, clean, clothed, and fed them the way they needed to be, the way that I needed to be. 2 years later, when that home expanded, I watched through the windows as those original 11 clutching their life in shoeboxes and glad bags left one by one, only to be replaced by another child with no place to be a child. The system is no place to be a child. Paradoxical as it may be, a group home more often than not is anything but we say we want life while turning a blind eye to the living. We praise the roses grown from concrete, but never question how they got there, never intervene when we see their seeds falling through the cracks. How messed up is that? We've romanticized the struggle to the point that we've stopped trying to prevent it and started participating. Not me. I will no longer glorify the single rose grown from concrete and ignore the bouquet lying beneath. Thank you.
Right, that was the inimitable Mr. Xaire doing his thing. Yeah, much love, much love, much love. Again, let's check out and see what Constance is doing up there in the corner. Can we put a spotlight on Constance? Can we hear from you, Constance? Can you let us know what we got popping?
Okay, so hi everybody. First of all, thank you so much for having me, Art Prevails. I love partnering with poetry. So I'm enjoying listening to everybody's poetry and your stories. Everybody's awesome. Over here pausing and snapping. But so I am just working on this lion. It's gonna be a whole bunch of different colors. You can kind of see my stuff in the background. I like to use bright colors. And for some reason, this crown theme has been stuck in my head for about 3 to 4 months. So most of my pictures in the last couple months have had a crown. So that's what I'm doing.
Dope. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for just blessing us with your talents.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so cool. Our next poet to do something for you guys tonight is none other than myself. So it's my turn. You know, I get to introduce myself. So next up to the microphone is this guy I've known for an extremely long time. I've known him since he was just a super small, next to nothing. And so, you know, so happy to be able to present him to you. So please make some noise for Mr. Darius Daughtry. Yes. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. So what I'm gonna do tonight is, I have a book. So real quick, for those who know or don't know me, I have a book. This is my book. It's called And the Walls Came Tumbling, right? But I'm not gonna read anything from that book. I'm gonna read some stuff that's not in the book that may be in, you know, I speak like Ashley, you know, from my yet to be published, you know, next book. And then also some stuff that I wrote very recently, like, so some stuff that has not seen the light of day. So that is what you're gonna get. So hopefully, you know, you like it. If not, you know, that's cool too. All right. So, and I'm gonna kind of just probably kind of go just right into with like very little pause in between. So I didn't want to write a poem for this salon, this reading, this gathering of ravenous bones, but I find myself scribbling, fashioning phrases out of confusion. Maybe I am the fumbling carpenter, creating carelessly and making a table by happenstance. This is my table, legs wobbly, slightly slanted, off by a degree or 10. There's a possibility your placements might slide off, not sanded, unfinished. Plenty splinters abound, so soft skin will likely be pricked. Slick, only in the spots that nature intended. No fine tuning, but you are welcome to pull up a seat if you dare. This table is prepared in the presence of my enemies and those that I adore. We can all gather, break bread, shed blood and tears, insecurities, mask off at the table though, have some manners. But dirty hands are allowed, preferred. A little something under your fingernails tells me you might be of the people, tells me you might know what work feels like or what no work feels like. You might have planted and dug, tried and failed. You might know what it feels like to be pushed up yourself from the gravel or to be under the filth of the gravels and gangs. You might be of the brood that Jesus would have hung out with, loaves and fishes. I got it, you got it, we got it, amen. No heads bowed. Look at God's when you pray. Listen as we sing out our woes and gratefulness. then eat while it's still warm. Revenge is best served cold, but empathy might burn your tongue a bit, might be a problem to swallow. So take your time, just eat at this wobbled table, carved with a dull sense of self and a blunt objection to whatever is supposed to be. That's that joint. All right, all right. Next up. What can a poem do? A poem cannot save a life, cannot Luke Cage your skin, fend off a dark alley attack, cannot make you less woman or less poor or less black and thus treated equally. A poem cannot stop a bullet, stop a bomb, stop terror on your doorstep. Your step, even with poem in hand, could be your last. A blast would turn the paper poem is written on into dust, particles, similes up in smoke, metaphors, just molecules forgotten. A poem cannot turn back time's hand, erase mistakes made or cut, copy, paste memories. A poem cannot delete history's horrors, but a poem can love, like hold you and scold you at the same time. A poem can rip away the untruths that have cocooned us. A poem can make you butterfly, not fly, you already fly, but a poem can make you float. No need to watch your step, quiet is kept. A poem can introduce you to yourself, help you discover those hidden, forbidden parts. A poem be like a mirror sometimes, help you see the crust in your eyes and the plank. On second thought, a poem can save a life. Like wise words granddaddy whispered, like the layer of truth just below the scriptures. A poem cannot stop a bullet, but can swallow the hate and spit back a sonnet. That sonic booms a room till quotes float like balloons. Goblins and goons soon just nod their heads, snap their fingers to what's written or said. Isn't it ironic? They say that the pen is mightier than the sword, but there were few writers on my block, mostly fighters on my block, dropouts that pulled all-nighters on my block. They blue and red light us on my block, then indict us on my block. What if there were more writers on my block? On your block, in every barrio and borough, conclave and commonwealth, courtroom and Capitol Hill, what if they all spilled a little ink on pages, allowing the inner workings of their hearts to scribble a poem or two? I wonder where we'd be if the masses just knew what a poem could do. That's that. But the question is, what is a poem but a symphony in sentences? An open-hearted opus, no rests, stressed and unstressed syllables that play for forgotten cosmic tales of woe or anguish. Librettoed language living in half notes, half-throated hymns and full-hearted folly. I wrote my first poem about a cello of a girl, full-bodied and bold, my metaphors on a different octave. My middle C was too high for her to see who I was. Our confusion of bass and treble left notes scribbled without a place to land. So I jotted my love in the air, hoping for them to fall somewhere between harmonics and her heartbeat, heart strum or pluck. My heart's drum was stud didn't quite fit her groove. Her movement made me question my motives, my questions, my answers. I longed for legato love while she just wanted to dance to her own rhythm. So I wrote my first poem about a cello of a girl. But what is a poem but an overture? Interlude imbued with whimsy, flimsy and falling over itself. I, a shipwrecked sonnet, seeking solace in sound, a treasure of a poem, wanting to be found, and she, singing my song, someplace between hello and goodbye, that cello of a girl, my muse, music, mystic melody playing to the rhythm of my rhyme. My first poem had no words, just the flutter of butterflies in my belly, stutters tucked under my tongue, an empty quill nestled behind my right ear, waiting to hear something, anything but silence. That's that poem. That's that one. Okay. Hopefully y'all doing good out there. How we doing? I'm gonna look over in the joint. Let me see what's happening over there. Look over there. Like, all right, say something. Where y'all at? Attendees, where y'all at? Okay. All right. So I'm gonna come back to these poems. All right. This is a super brand new poem. Brand new. I don't even know if I like this poem yet or not. I don't even know. I talked to my brother today. He was sitting on the curb in front of the door outside 7-Eleven, picking scabs with his left hand, offering the last vestiges of dignity in his right for barter. The lady who just pulled up in her middle-class colored van, adorned with bumper stickers and a broken marriage. The kids hanging out the window at Pump 11 were bookmarks left between the wrong pages of the book she kept from the library well after it was overdue. I met my brother in the 7th grade. I was holding what I was told was a French horn or a cornet or my impending insecurities in my left hand, and my right hand held the note, check no, sent back from the girl who 6 years later will no longer be pretty, just light-skinned, who I'll barely recognize when I run into her while I'm back home on summer break, as she rings up my bottled water at the same grocery store the 16-year-old me will take long breaks from during while high school summers, when the ladies whose waist I watched on our walk to their car would tip me heavy because I had good manners and the spirit of God shone through me. So my pants would hang weighted with hormones and quarters, the latter flipped or pitched in temporary flirting with my mama's vice, the same vice that had quiet storms watching me as I watched my baby sister in the backseat of our Bonneville outside the dog track or high lie, parked next to other foreclosures and deferred dreams. Me and my brother were hanging out like that one sitcom with the siblings, grew in 2 different gardens. Which one got rain? Which one got pissed on? We laughed at each other's pain, the holes we both had, but only we could see. I guess that DNA is good for something like keeping that bike balance as I rubbernecked to see the wreckage of my mother's college education, removing groceries from some other woman's trunk. I got a brother. We don't talk. Never really talked. Always just stared in broken mirrors, both Bizarro and Superman, Spider-Man and Venom, both green-eyed for different reasons. Last time we talked, he called me cuz. Could be colloquial, most likely a stiff arm to any hopes of feeling like the son I felt I wasn't. Remind me that I was black sheep to a herd of wildebeest. I can't lie. I have reveled in the fact that I got degrees and shit, while he's on that paper too. Parole, probation, we learn different. Maybe it was the teachers, destiny, our mother's genes. I got a brother, same last name, first name carbon copy of Mist. This poem is the first time we've talked, probably the last. That's that poem. So yeah, I don't know if I like that poem yet. I don't know. Yeah. Okay, cool. So y'all like it? All right, it's dope. I like it. Well, if y'all like it, I like it then. Cool. I guess I'll put it in my pocket. All right. Speaking of my pocket, so I'm gonna drop this poem here. This one I get on. It's not super new, but it's not in my book. So those of you who out there don't know me, you might not have heard this, but those of you who do, you've heard it, but you're gonna get it anyway. All right. I got dead black boys in my pocket. I don't leave home without them. I got my ritual. I grab my bag, my keys, my ID, and 2 or 3 brown bodies that I bear betwixt the lint. They hold me down. They keep me weighted. They slow my step, a little less bounce in my bop. They cause me to stop, freeze. They squeeze my thighs, buckle my knees, and straighten my spine. More reliable than any card, credit, or debit. The dead get me right. They keep me quiet by screaming over me sometimes. In the summertime, you can smell them. Their futures rotting, see them spotting as blood drips down my legs. Sometimes they jingle like change, these boys, these dead boys make music like tambourine, like they are yet shells, casings dancing towards the ground that sound like you must not be listening. Must not be looking. Must have your ears plugged or bird box bandana over your eyes. How else could you not hear, see the cries? They sound a lot like your future's being choked out of you. They sound like needles at the border asking, "Donde está mi mamá, papa?" The adage goes, closed mouth don't get fed. So we scream instead, but our plates are still empty and the cups run over with lead. Maybe we're not screaming after all. And the sound's just all in our heads. That's why you crack them open, hoping that the blood drops at a steady pace. Something rhythmic and palatable for you to tap your toe, maybe nod your head and whistle a sweet little ditty. Take that, take that. They don't want us around. They want us to stay back, stay back. The only time we listen is when we speak murder or Maybach, but we are singing revolution. It's that take back, that stay back, stay black, that payback, payback. Holla if you hear me. And see the Afro pick one time. All right. And so we're going to slide out of here on a kind of light note, a little bit of light note. This one takes a little bit of audience participation. So make sure I see everybody all the way out there doing what I ask you to do when it's in this. All right, here we go. Life will never be a crystal stair, more like a battlefield filled with landmines and snares. You can either navigate the field or sit sidelined scared, screaming at the rest of the world that life just ain't fair. And you're right, ain't nothing fair about this thing called life. Some are fork-fed fortune while others futilely fight for an inch, a pinch, a sliver, a slice, a dash of daybreak in the darkness of night. But what shall your game plan be? Will you sit on the sideline resigned to defeat, lamenting over all the odds you feel you can't beat? Put your hand over your heart. Now this is y'all do. Put your hand over your heart. And if you still feel a beat, then you are blessed. So tell stress to take several seats. Step on all your haters' necks, lace up the boots on your feet, and then stride into your year, your month, your week, your hours, your days, your seconds, your moments, every part of your life as if you own it. If you have a set of goals, then you better get on it, because in this fight called life, we're our fiercest opponent. We pack jabs of indecision and uppercuts of self-doubt. If you don't defend yourself from yourself, you might knock yourself out. But you just can't play defense, constant retreat. You have to go on the attack, float like a butterfly sweet, and then swing for the fences, reach for the stars, lunge toward Mercury and grab a hold of Mars, take a ride on a comet, but there are no handlebars and no training wheels, so of course you'll fall off and get bloodied and muddied and sullied and scarred, but you must pick yourself up and brush yourself off, because how you deal with those falls defines who you are, and you are amazing. No crystal stair needed. Seated in your soul is a celestial symphony, which means you're right where you're meant to be. Just gotta open up your eyes and see it. Tune your ears to your own imperfect pitch. Ride your system's glitch. Scratch your itch like a DJ, like a DJ, like a DJ. When you live life this way, it's as if we play soul music and mix it with hip hop and classical. It becomes a magical mashup for you to groove with. Now, who's this? Staring back at you every single morning in the mirror. I say it's none other than a reflection of God or Goddess. So look right back at them and make them a promise that you will always and forever live life amazing. Bam. That is it. That's what I got for you tonight. Thank you so much. Thank everybody for being here. All right, so our next poet, let me breathe for a second. Let me breathe. This is water in this cup too. Just don't worry about it. It's water. It's water in that thing. All right, everybody, it's water. Chill. Yes, so our next poet is a dear friend of mine who I've had the pleasure of knowing for quite some time. Not, as long as the others, like since she was a little girl, no, like not that long. But I've had the pleasure of knowing her and working with her and just seeing her grow and develop and seeing her just do great and amazing things. I was supposed to be hanging out with her in Alabama, this upcoming week, but Rona don't want us to be great. So at least we could hang out right here. So please, everybody, welcome the lovely, the talented Miss Ashley Jones.
All right, thank you, Darius. I have just had such a good time listening to everybody and seeing everybody. A lot of you guys I knew as youngsters, and now you're grown. I understand everybody's old and, established, but seeing Emaret and Peter and Douglas, or Xaire, excuse me, I didn't use your stage name, and Marnino as adults has just been so cool. And to meet Naya and see Nazaya, who was incredible. You're like amazing. You're gonna take over your uncle's whole deal. Like, you're good. So thanks everybody for sharing. And thanks to Constance too for painting that amazing painting. That is so cool. So yeah, I'm just really excited to be here. So I'm gonna read a few pieces, like maybe 5. So just so you know how many you're in for. But I do wanna start by just having a little moment of silence. We have lost a lot of people due to this pandemic, and it's really difficult day by day just to make it with and without our loved ones. So I just want to take a few moments for reflection on those people who we have lost and people who are on the front lines fighting. God made my whole body and the way it moves and the way it shakes and jiggles and plops. And God made my smile and the 1,000 tears that fall from my eyes. God made the sun and the moon and the leaf held loosely in my godson's perfect little hand. And God made the summer breeze and the guitar Ron Isley crooned over. And God made the grass and the bugs and the dogs and the trees. And God made all of our bodies to make waste. And God made even the waste that lives in us. And God made the way the world spins and the way it will shake us right off if we don't act right. And God made the rivers, which make it possible for us to drink. And God made the clouds, which hold the rain. And God made the birds which fly and the wolves that howl. God made the folds of my brain and the thoughts that burrow there. God made my belly, my uterus, and all the little eggs which might become children. God made the doubt that rests there too, like bubbling gas. God made the silence I wrap around myself some nights alone. God made the music we sing and the music we hate. God made the ears which help us stay balanced, help us to hear what people say behind our backs and in front of them. God made sweet potato pie and aunties and mamas who know how to add just enough nutmeg. God made my whole body, and God made my grandma and her gold tooth, and God made my grandma and her curly wig, and God made my grandma I didn't know, and God made my grandpa who was a ghost, and my grandpa who was a terror. God made fear and the way it slices us up, thin and flimsy. God made the way a hand quivers before it strikes. God made pain. God made the blood which runs and keeps us running. God made an everlasting red. All right, thank you. So I want to read a piece about my family. I'm here with my whole family, sheltering in place. And I really have to credit them for so many things, for setting up this beautiful setup that you see here, this lovely backdrop. That's all my family, but also for just keeping me sane and alive now and before all this happened, and in the future they'll do the same thing. So this is a poem about a tradition that we have that is still going. How to make your daughters culturally aware and racially content during Christmas time. Remind them, Jesus is Black. Despite the pictures Granny has hung on the wall, despite the glowing good old boy on her pile of church fans, Jesus was a brother, a bruh, not a bro. Hair of wool, you tell them. Buy a new nativity set. Mary with her press and curl, Joseph with a fade, baby Jesus fresh out the womb and curly. Go to a roadside Christmas shop. Buy a pale, smiling Santa. Let your daughters wonder how he turned brown overnight, how Santa's face became just like their own, brown and buttery, a Yuletide miracle. When you're trimming your plastic tree, the one you've had since the 80s, put on Rudolph, balked by the Temptations, deck the halls by Smokey, Donny Hathaway's This Christmas, and Gladys Knight's deep brown voice crooning Jingle Bells. Fill the tree skirt with tightly wrapped gifts. Anticipate your daughter's unbreakable smiles when they rip off the paper to reveal an army of Black Barbies and brown baby dolls. All right. And I'll say too that I think I'm the only one of us who's not in or from Florida on this reading. So I just want to represent the non-Floridians. I'm from Birmingham, Alabama. That's where I am right now. That's where I always will be. Don't listen to anything Darius says about Alabama. Anyone out there in the world, don't listen to him because he doesn't know at all. Okay. This is a poem that I wrote after the election of 2016 Y'all know what happened. I don't have to explain what happened. I mean, I didn't vote for it to happen, but you know, some people did. And so I wrote this about how frustrated I was. Who Will Survive in America? Or 2017, a horror film. All year, I have worked against this feeling, this country, this raging wreck from sea to shining sea. Do you know what it means to wake each morning, to realize your own brown hands aren't enough to protect you? That the likelihood of any given day being your last one on Earth is too high? That we are more likely to find life on Mars than to ever actually fix that fatal likelihood? That we will probably just continue with our meaningless Starbucks orders, fill the house with Nina Simone and call that woke? Value furry, collared creatures over our own human kin? Sometimes, seems like they can smell our otherness. Seems like we sparkle with something fiery in the sunlight. But not even our spectacular, crystalline glitter makes it easier for them to believe that we have any inalienable right to breathe. All right, these are my last two. Thank y'all so much for listening and tuning in wherever it is that you were tuning in from. It's definitely odd to read without actually hearing people make noise in between pieces. Oh, thank you guys. I'm just reading the chat from here. I'm a little old, so I have to squint. But anyway, thank y'all so much for being here. These are my last two, and they are both about my family because, as I said earlier, my family means everything to me. I really would not be who I am without them, and I just feel very blessed to have been born into the family that I was born into. So this is home security, and just a brief little intro. In my normal life, outside of, you know, Corona, I travel a lot reading poetry, and I often miss my family because I'm gone a lot. And I happened to watch one day while I was missing my family, I happened to turn on the security system app that I put on my phone, and I watched the goings on at my parents' house. So, home security. 2,300 miles away from home, and I'm watching the tiny camera attached to the back of my parents' house. Brother dragging the black trash bin to the curb. Sisters hum to the back door with her key and bag in hand. The breaths of our quiet house. I've been thinking lately about time, how it will come for me and my family. We'll steal these bones, the flesh that guards like a house. I've been thinking about getting older, the way it seems like some years pass quick as a snap, my life between two fingers, my body an aging house, the cracks and creaks down the halls. How did I become so old that I can start to see the end of this horizon? My mind a house full of impending pain, imminent pain. My father's face a tomb of tears at his mother's grave. My mother's sighs through the Greensboro house, now emptied of my grandmother's body. The way a headstone smiles, come now. Did you think you'd really live forever? On the home security camera, my house looks indestructible. The cars unmoving, as if everyone has come home to stay. Looking at them walk in and out of the house, my parents and my siblings look something like strangers. How the camera's dumb eye can't capture memory, just pixels and pigments. It can't keep my house from becoming a pile of wood and shingled crumb. Can't keep those living in it from dissolving into darkness, dirt. The big house I imagine as heaven. Maybe then, my angel parents wave me home from their golden porch. They say, Ashley, we've been waiting. Come on in the house. All right, last one. Again, thank y'all so much for listening. This has been really fantastic. And this last one, like I said, is also about my family. Sorry, not sorry. But this just is a moment that we share together me and my siblings and my dad, we were trying to look at a meteor shower around Christmas time, I think over winter break. And we didn't see it, but it was a really beautiful moment. So I'm gonna read about that moment. Meteor shower. There is nothing particularly funny about rocks flying through the sky, the raccoon gobbling trash next door, the empty street, but we laugh like it's Christmas, or like those rare summer mornings on the back porch when the sun isn't too hot and everything is possible. There's a meteor shower tonight, and we feel large and happy standing in our driveway. We strain our eyes for something lit up, carrying wishes or a bonfire of dreams ready to alight from the sky. Maybe, like the man they say rides the night this time of year, we will see something impossible, impossibly generous. It's a blessing to receive a gift, to get something hoped for, something named and exhaled on a piece of space sediment, to get a half hour sitting here next to these loves of mine, to feel the easy way my laugh twinkles out until I'm all sky, mouth open like this whole world is a big, bright drink. We don't see the meteors falling in a trail of smoke. We wait almost an hour for their shine across the sky. And although we don't see anything but these domesticated stars, there is something singular. Maybe the way my sister's eyes hold the star glow, my brother's humming speech, my dad standing here, healthy and smiling among his 4 children. Once in a lifetime, these meteors this night. Thank y'all.
All right. Let's, I know this is normally when I would say let's give a round of applause to all of our readers, but let's do it. Let's put it in the comments, show some love. That was an amazing reading. And I think we've got some time for a couple of, questions, but also I'd love to check in on Constance and see where you're at. If we could get you unmuted, Constance, and check out what you're up to.
I'm sorry, I struggle with technology too. I'm like, looking for the right button. So the one thing about painting, especially the way I paint, I do lots and lots of layers. So this is just beginning. Like by the time it's done, there won't be any white showing on the canvas. So let me show you. I have another picture that I started. I started this one the other day, and you can kind of see like the detail. So I have to go back and put all the texture in the hair and do a lot of depth. So most of my paintings are just like really long and involved. So
that's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that with us.
No problem. Thank you.
So if you have questions for our readers, you can put those in the chat, and we'll have some time to discuss it. I have a question first. I just wanted to know, what's it like for you guys to perform without a live audience around you? What was it like?
Anybody?
Yeah, how do I want to answer this? So somebody asked me about teaching, I think, without students, because I've been doing that as well. And my reply was, I think I must just like talking to myself, because it wasn't that weird for me at first. But I think in this reading, it definitely helped to be able to see all the other panelists. I don't think the audience can see all of us at once, but on the back end, we can see each other. So that was at least helpful for me. You know, it gave me sort of a feeling of having other people with me, because I could see the reactions, and seeing the chat was great. But it's definitely different. Feel the like energy of the room. You only have the room that you're in. You know, I'm looking at a computer. It's just different. But the good thing about poetry, at least to me, is that it always kind of makes me feel connected to something. So even if there's not a physical other person in the room, I'm connecting to something out there just by reading or hearing a poem.
Yeah, I'll piggyback with that. It's, you know, it's cool. Like I talk to myself a lot. I spend a lot of time just, you know, talking aloud just to myself, and, you know, whether, because I write theater as well. So like when I'm like writing characters and stuff, so I'm oftentimes just up like acting out characters and you know, so, but it is a little different, right? The energy, right? When you're performing, when you're sharing with people, whether it's 2 people or 200 people, just the energy, like this, like real physical and palpable exchange of energy that that's there. So but yeah, it's cool, but again, like because it's all family, I kind of still feel all of their energy, you know, as well, you know. And even as I was reading and kind of being able to look at their faces and like knowing what they might be saying or how they might be reacting, you know, in the space, like, you know, that felt familiar. So it wasn't that bad. It was just all right.
Yeah, it's really kind of, as an observer, it's really intimate to have you all in your home, and like I get to sit in my home and like we're kind of all in the living room together a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyone else want to answer that one?
I'd say for me, I kind of liked it. It was cool. I was gonna do it more often. Because I'm a little scatterbrained, so I get distracted when I can see people. It was good for me to be able to not see anybody while I go, so I'm actually be able to get through it without stopping and noticing something. But yeah.
That's great. We've got another question for Darius. Where or how do you find all of this amazing talent that becomes part of Art Prevails?
Oh man, so, you know, I'm a blessed individual. That's all. I've come across these young people in varied capacities. You know, Peter, I was his high school teacher, and then all the rest of them. I found Xaire when she was. I found her, but you know, all the rest of them, you know, I had the great opportunity to work with them in my previous iteration of things that I did on a previous organization. So came across them and were able to kind of work and pour and try to, you know, cultivate them as up and coming and young artists. And so it's like super exciting just to see as they have grown and become adults, to see that they are walking in the things that I saw for them. Like, you know, I have visions. I came across them and I'm like, oh man, one day that person's going to be amazing. They're really good now, but one day, right? One day when they start seeing it in themselves, right? Because that's really the biggest thing is confidence and connecting. So the fact that they are walking and doing great things. I mean, like you heard, I mean, Xaire kind of did a poem, but you know, you heard him singing a little bit, you know, so he's a super talented songwriter. Marnino is a super talented singer, songwriter, rapper, you know, like South Florida Drake, no response to that. Okay, cool. All right. It must be frozen over there. All right.
I think he is frozen.
So Epiphany is also, you know, she doesn't like to walk around singing, but she is a talented singer, an audio engineer, you know, and, you know, she's a great organizer and leader. Naya is just reaching college, but she's doing things on the radio. Yeah. So, and, you know, and Xaire is a theater, you know, person. So she's an amazing little actress. So I'm just happy. I'm just happy that I get to kind of play with these pieces. I get to, you know, it's fun.
Awesome. We've got another question for all the readers. How much have you written during this time, and do you feel a duty, or like what's your relationship to writing right now while we're all kind of locked down?
I have not written a thing while being in quarantine. Kind of bothered by that because I am still growing and learning and they're like cool parts of myself that I'm discovering right now. I do feel a duty to write, but not necessarily to the public or to the world, but maybe the world that is like myself. I feel like I owe me some poems. And so I do feel a duty in that sense to write, but I haven't given myself the time. But the semester is ending, and we just finished our festival with work, so I think I'll get some time to myself to kind of self-care and get into that.
Yeah, I guess I'll I'll agree with Epiphany. With I haven't written at all, right? But like, and at some point feeling guilty about that, right? But now shifting that, because I think one of the things I think that all of us would experience in here is like, we're artists and this is also our careers as well. And so a lot of the times those worlds get blended, and you still have to take care of yourself, right? And so I'm trying to understand that, like, the reason I started being an artist in the first place is because I love doing this, so, right? And it shouldn't be something that I burden myself with. So if I'm not prepared to create, then I don't have to create, especially right now when like there is no, nobody saying, hey, write this poem for me by this date. It's like, okay, I'm home, so yeah, like take this time to take care of myself and get into that headspace where creativity comes naturally again. So
I'd say for me, I have written a little bit, but I'd say at no point during what's been going on have I felt obligated to write, simply because I used to put that pressure on myself, and I actually stepped away from writing for a very long time because of that, because I didn't like what became of that. A lot of the things I started writing started to feel, manufactured and disingenuous. So I stopped putting that pressure on myself. So even with, all the free time that we have now, no, I've never felt a obligation to write. I do it because I love it, and that's what I'm going to continue to do.
Yeah, so if I'll jump in, I've been working a lot. So like, I don't know, some new stuff, a little, but this time, because I'm not very good at self-care and just stopping and taking time to do and to be present. And so shout out to my self-care accountability partner, Xaire Jones. Shout out to her, because she hits me up, make sure that I'm taking some time for myself. So this year has kind of given me this opportunity to sleep a little bit, because that's not really something that I'm really good at. So, but as far as like I'm allowing myself to just kind of feel whatever it is that I feel in regards to where we are in the world. And I think that's important that artists do that like all the time and not feel compelled. But I also believe that there is, as an artist, we are charged with something, in the sense, during certain times we are charged with that, because we are the ones that that take it all in and let it marinate, and then we put it out. Now, does it have to come out now? Does it have to just like be spit out next week? Maybe just the information is coming in now, and all the sensory download is happening, and something regarding whatever's happening now, maybe that doesn't really come out until they open outdoors back up, right? So but like, I do believe that we as artists are charged in a way, but it not from the public necessarily, not from anybody else, any outside source saying you need to be writing, oh man, you have all this time, I know you just creating all this stuff. Like, nah, I'm sitting here like, in my pajamas, too. I'm sitting here, eating all the snacks as well, like everybody else. So, and what comes out will come out when it needs to come out, if that makes sense.
That does. That's great. I think I want to thank you all again. So let's everyone give it up for Nyah, Naya, Peter, Epiphany, Marnino, Xaire, Darius, and Ashley, and Constance. Thank all of you for gracing us with your words and your art tonight. Darius has put some links up in the chat for where you can donate to Art Prevails. Do you want to say anything more about that, Darius?
Yeah, so, again, we are a nonprofit organization. The coronavirus, everything closing down, hit us a bit in the sense of things that we do as far as, whether it's performance or our work as teaching artists and in schools. Everything that we do is about the arts and impacting the community through the arts. So I put the links there. If I can, I'm gonna actually kind of share my screen real quick. I can show you. Absolutely. If you want to go to the website. It's very easy. It's simple. It looks like this. I'll show you. Looks like this. Is artprevailsproject.org/support. You click on this little button right here that says donate, right? So first, artprevailsproject.org/support. Click on donate, and it takes you here, bam, and bam, and real quick. So right there, so any bit helps, whether it's $5 or, if you want to give, $55,000, it's cool. We're not mad at that. It's okay. So think about it. We know times are tough, and but you got the stimulus check. Don't run out and necessarily buy Chick-fil-A with that, because you can go ahead and slide us $5 or $10 with some of that stimulus check. That'll go a long way. We appreciate you.
All right, thanks so much, Darius. So for your support towards Art Prevails, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Miami has an event, at least an event every day for the rest of April for National Poetry Month. Tomorrow we have a reading with the poet Lange Rodriguez at 8 p.m. And then on one of the things we're really excited about this month is Thursday. There's a reading and conversation with Stacey Ann Chin, which is a co-production with Third Horizon Media. So that should be really exciting, 8 p.m. this Thursday. So yeah, join us for any of those. You can find any information at omiami.org. Darius, you want to say something?
Yeah, real quick. I want to thank all the folks with Miami, the homies Scott and Melody, Melissa, and you, Caroline, for partnering with us on this and making sure that that we could bring this to the people. I think it's super important that organizations with like minds and like efforts kind of work together. And I think I've loved Miami for quite some time, and so I thank you for just helping us with this platform for the people. So everybody else out there, if you don't know Miami, make sure you go to follow them, go to their website, support what they're doing. They're continually doing great things throughout Miami, but also just South Florida in general, around the arts, poetry, around young people. So yeah, make sure you support them. Give them a little bit of your stimulus check too. That's cool.
Awesome, thanks, Darius. And Melody just put a survey in the chat as well. We always love to know where you're coming from and some information on the people we're connecting with. So if you'll fill that out, that would be excellent. All right, so thanks so much. Hope to see you all in the real world sometime soon. Stay safe.
Unmute yourselves and say bye, people.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
No, love you guys. Peace.
Wait, do I press leave meeting?
Yeah.
Nah, just bye. Just say bye.
Wait, were you being sarcastic? Hold
No,
up.
leave the meeting.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Bye.